All right, this is the beginning of chapter 3, and you all should have this out in front of you, 3.1, notes, exponential functions, and their graphs. And what we're going to do today is just practice graphing some exponential functions. So f of x is equal to 3 to the x power. We're going to graph. You guys have your calculators in front of you, so go ahead and type in to y equals 3 to the power of x. But if you would prefer, I was going to show you guys something up here on my computer. If you go to my website, on the home page, it says free online graphing calculator. If you click on here, it will bring you to this grapher. And you can type into y equals, what is the first function that we're talking about? 3 to the power of x. So you type in 3. And then you need to use your power key, so you use the caret looking key, and then you type in x, and then it will graph it for you. Just press graph over here, the orange graph button, and you get your function. Also notice a table of values shows up. So you can go ahead and copy these values down right onto your table. So when the x value is a negative 3, when the x value is a negative 3, the y value is 0.037. When the x value is a negative 2, you get 0.111. When it's negative 1, you get 0.333. When the x value is 0, you get 1. When the x value is 1, you get 3, etc. So go ahead and either use the calculator function on your or the y equals function on your graphing calculator, or you can use the grapher on my website. So either way is fine. The second function that you need to graph is it's not y equals, f of x minus 2. So it's the value of the function minus 2. Well, the function is 3 to the power of x. So really what you're doing in the second situation is taking 3 to the power of x minus 2. So I'm going to go back to my grapher, and in y2 I'm going to do 3 to the power of x, and then I'm going to subtract 2. I'm going to graph it. Notice on this grapher you can choose what color you want the graphs to be. So the second graph that I'm doing is going to be green, which I like because you guys can see the difference between the two graphs. So this is the green function right here is f of x minus 2. Well, do you guys remember when we were studying these kinds of transformations to graphs earlier in the year? When you subtract 2 at the end of a function, all it does is move the graph down 2 units. Same thing's going to happen when you're talking about exponentials. So in that case, you just shift your graph down 2 units. The third function is f of negative x. So that means that you, instead of graphing 3 to the power of x, you have to graph 3 to the power of the opposite of x. So you graph 3 to the power of, instead of x, it's going to be negative x. 3 to the power of negative x. You graph it, and it's a reflection over the y-axis. The next function is negative f of x. So in that case, what you're graphing is negative 3 to the power of x. I'll graph that also. When you do that, it's a reflection over the x-axis. There is one more graph to do. f of x plus 1. Well, when you graph this f of x plus 1, I don't have a place to graph it because I've run out of y equals. So I'm going to go back up to the very first function, and I am going to replace, actually, you know what I think I'll do instead? I'm going to go to the very last one, the one that's graphed in yellow, and I'm going to get rid of that negative to the power of, you have to use your parentheses here because we're not just putting it to the power of x and then adding 1. We need it to be to the power of x plus 1. So I have to put that x plus 1 in parentheses. So I'm putting 3 to that whole power. I graph it, and now my yellow function is a shift to the left. It says x plus 1 in parentheses, so it will shift it into the opposite direction of what it once was. So go ahead, finish your table, and then graph them below, and then you can use these as part of your notes.